Hi, welcome to the Sifu Mimi Chan Show. Thanks for joining the conversation. Chen Tang has been described as an actor whose purpose is to portray human stories that connect the East to the West. If you're a fan of the show Warrior, like me, you've seen him as Hung, the fun yet deadly mass-murdering hitman fresh off the boat from China. We not only dissect Chen's captivating portrayal, but also explore his passion for travel, discovering how he effortlessly finds home in every corner of the globe. From his culinary escapades to thrilling safari adventures during his time filming in Cape Town, prepare to be transported beyond the set and into the exciting life of Chen Tang. We are also calling on all Warrior fans or fans of Asian American stories, martial arts action, and just really great television to please help us fight for a season 4 on Netflix. You can do that by binge watching all 3 seasons on Netflix right now and show your love with a double thumbs up. If you can do this before February 23rd, the chances are much higher. Please also spread the word by posting to social media and tagging at Netflix and at Netflix Golden. Together, we can make season 4 happen. So let's go, Warriors. I feel so fortunate to have these conversations with guests like Chen. And my favor, as usual, is to please continue to share this podcast with others. It would also mean so much if you would rate it and leave me feedback. If you would like to help keep this podcast going and support the work I do, you can become a patron of the show by visiting my website or patreon.com/SifuMimiChan. For comments or suggestions, reach out on social media at SifuMimiChan. Now, on with the show. Hello, Chen. Lovely to see you.
Good to see you too.
Thanks so much for joining me on the podcast for an extended conversation.
Yeah, no worries. Thanks for having me. We'll talk.
Of course. Yes. I mean, I was teasing everybody as I progressed to that press junket that I felt like I was speed dating the Warrior cast, which was kind of cool, but at the same time, a little overwhelming, I have to say.
Yeah, we're not like, we suck. Okay. Like we're not that much fun. Like speed dating with anybody else would be a lot more fun.
No, that's not true. It was actually awesome. It's just that there was like 2 to 3 of you per room and I had 10 minutes. And this is my preferred platform where we can chat and get to know each other. And I actually think I was the problem. I'm like, how am I going to do my normal 1 hour in like 3 minutes with everody? So I appreciated the opportunity.
It didn't seem like it though. You seem like super relaxed, just like mode. You know.
What
sometimes
could possibly go wrong?
We have none of the people in the junket the other day, but like I've had some interviews where they're like literally like reading. It's like trying to read off a baking list.
Oh,
questions, and we're like, I feel like a prisoner in there. You know?
All right. Well, I appreciate that I didn't make you all feel like prisoners. We'll put that in the win checkbox.
Yeah.
I mean, because
a win is a win.
A win is a win. I'm going to take it either way. I mean, this is my passion project, right? So I'm not even like, I always tease, I'm like, I'm not even a real, podcaster journalist. I mean, now though, I've been doing this over 6 years. So I could say I've got some experience, but really this is just, born out of passion. And I'm so fortunate I've gotten to talk to some of the most amazing people. So it's been really amazing. Yeah, it's been a great experience.
It's been really, really fun. I loved you instantly. Would love to want to have this is like an extended date.
That's right. We've already gotten to know each other and we're moving forward with this. So
yeah. This is second date.
Yeah, second date. Love it. Well, I really loved your character, of course, and in many of the characters you've played on screen. And I was really interested in learning a little bit more about you. And I was fascinated to see that you were, born in Japan, grew up and lived in China for a bit, but then, of course, relocated to Memphis of all places and went to school in Boston. I know you're out on the West Coast. And I was just like, wow, you're such a human of the world. But I was curious, like, what to you really feels like home?
To me, I guess just because I've been traveling since I was very little, I'm an explorer at heart. I think I just feel like at home when I'm on the road.
Yeah.
Does
so
that
you're
make
a bit
sense?
of a nomad.
Yeah, and I'm not like saying that I would, I just want to like give up all earthly possessions and just like kind of live a super fan. But there is something to be said about, I just love to explore new places, and fortunately, I've had the wonderful opportunity to do so through work, through my job,
Yeah.
and yeah, it seems like in the last 4 or 5 years, they've crisscross the world a little bit.
Yes, definitely. Do you have kind of a favorite that you've gotten to work and play in? Because I know that, especially if you're on a more extended set, that you'll get a little downtime. Where sometimes I know you guys fly in and fly out, and you don't even get to explore. But is there a favorite place you've been? Because I love travel as well.
Yeah, I don't know. South Africa was gnarly. It was just took the cake.
Yeah.
I've never seen, it's Mama Africa. Africa is really, really, and until you've actually been there and just experienced like life there, it's hard to describe. There's no place like it in the world, and especially South Africa.
Yeah.
Cape Town was, I mean, it was really stunning, but obviously after the shoots, a lot of us are like, we're like take full advantage and like bring our families and friends. We're gonna like go and like explore a little bit afterward if we have time, right?
Right.
And I think probably one of the highlights for me was just being able to go on safari.
Mm,
Yeah, like you're out in the bush
100%.
and you just feel like, I mean, first off, the safari, the nature park is, I think they said it was like bigger than Israel, or I think it's the size of like
I
bigger than New
wouldn't
Jersey.
doubt it. Yeah,
Yeah.
just the size of that continent as a whole, you're just overwhelming.
So I think that to me was one of the highlights because I have never felt that present in my whole life. And because you're just out there in nature as far as the eye can see.
Yeah. And you also have an affinity for wildlife because I know that that is one of your, preferred charities and so that must have really kind of been so just kind of incredible. Is there certain animals that you were really excited to see that you got to see? And is there any that you missed?
For me, it sounds kind of weird because everybody's like, I want to see the lion, the leopard, like the big charismatic.
The big five, yeah.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to see a hippo. I love I love hippos.
Okay. And you got to.
Hilarious. Yeah. Yeah. Whole family of hippos.
Yeah.
And actually, they, if you're in like a safari area, like where it's like quote unquote, technically it's like a resort or something, they're not going to let you just walk around at night. They have to actually escort you to your place.
Yeah, for safety.
Because I was like, well, why are you escorting us? It's only like, maybe like 20 meters, 10 meters down that way. He's like, well, like the hippos do walk around at night. You might run into one. So,
and they are vicious. Like, don't let the hippos fool you. They can be pretty vicious. I've seen some crazy videos. Yeah.
And it's the size of a Jeep.
Yeah.
I mean, they're big. They're big. And so, at night, every now and then you'll just hear like the, and you're like, well, what is that? It's a hippo.
Oh my gosh, it's so much fun. I cannot wait. I actually, if everything goes well, I should be there in August and hanging out with Langley. And he promised to spend a day with me. And so, I've been really fortunate. Langley and I have actually become quite friends. And he's just sold me on South Africa so much that I'm like, I have to go.
God.
So, so I'm getting tips from you right now, selfishly.
I have to give you a whole list.
Please. Yes.
Of restaurants. And,
I was gonna say I'm really into food, so bring it on. Yeah.
That the food. Yeah. You must have some of the local food too.
Absolutely. It is for sure on my list. And that
Yeah.
is kind of one of the cool things that you get to do because you get to travel and see all these places. But I always feel that food just connects the culture so much. Like when you're in a place and you get the local food, that's really where you feel like you're submerged a bit, right? And so is there a
Yeah,
favorite
yeah.
dish you've had that you've enjoyed or one of the top, 10 or something that you wish
Oh
everyone
yeah,
could try this?
uh, uh, I really, I don't know where you're gonna get it, but you have to ask some locals. I have to ask around for you. But we ate they call it in Fosa inyama yenshoko.
Okay.
It's sheep's head.
Okay. Wow.
Just cut it and then you eat it and with like some salt and dip it. You just eat it.
Okay. Okay.
It's like roasted, and
Okay.
it's like a delicacy. And oh yeah, it's if you ever had like sheep's head, it's awesome.
Okay.
It's awesome.
I'm
No,
pretty
because
adventurous, so I'll try. Yeah.
yeah, the in like Mexican cuisine they have like cabeza,
Hmm,
the like
hmm.
yeah, it's like that, but you get a
Okay.
whole.
Wow. So they actually does it look like a sheep's head or it's just sauteed and or you're looking at like,
You can get
like in
them. You can
Chinese
have
cuisine, you're
them.
getting a whole pig.
They can have both. You can have them
Okay.
actually take out the meat for you,
Hmm.
and but like yeah, you could have it just
Wow.
looking at you.
Okay. So it depends how
Yeah,
squeamish you get with your food.
yeah. You can. It's delicious.
I'm sure. I trust you. I mean, you seem like you're pretty passionate about it. I mean, and it's kind of funny. Last time we spoke off air, you and I were kind of talking about some similarities between you and your character you play in Warrior, and I noticed he's
Yeah.
like always eating, and so I was like, does a real Chen like food just as much as Hong likes food? Like I was like wondering what are your
Yeah,
similarities?
um, I don't do this with all my roles, but I like to do it more often than not of just I guess like funneling in all the regular experiences that you had and then just putting it into the character or putting into the life of it,
Right.
and a lot more often than not, it actually kind of makes sense.
Hmm.
And I was like, yeah, I love to explore. I love to eat. Um, and basically, when I got the role, they were like, well, how do you want Hong to look? We don't have any decide. We have no like physical
Okay.
vision of this guy. And you
Okay.
want to be fat, you want to be skinny, you want to be buff. What do you want? And I was like,
Right.
you know, I was like, well, you know what? If I haven't, if I'm knowing what I know about Chinese history, if I know that time period, I mean, this guy is like probably actually kind of hungry. He's hungry. People are like, I'm hungry to fight. I'm hungry to do a good job. No, he's actually hungry. He's mostly just fighting for, a bowl of rice at the end of the day. And so I was like, hey, I'm in this new place. I don't like to cook. I'm gonna eat every fucking thing. I'm gonna
I
eat
love it.
every fucking thing. I'm gonna try every fucking thing, and like, wouldn't that be kind of fun? And that was kind of started becoming like I don't know when they picked up on it. It was never a discussion,
Oh, okay.
but they can feel it, man. They can feel it. I swear. I think they can feel it. They can.
Okay.
So
Yeah,
they're
because
like,
I
well,
noticed that
yeah,
right away about him. And then just a little bit I've spoken to you. And then, of course, the one question I really got to ask in the junket was like about survival, what you fight for. And you're like, food. I mean, basically hungry. And I was like, I see that. And then just like
yeah.
I said, knowing you for like 10 minutes, I'm like, boy, you seem like you really enjoy food. So I was wondering like where that
Yeah,
crossover was.
and it's like a wonderful thing. Like what I think about Hong is like he's not a glutton, right? He's
Right,
not like
right.
a glutton, but he's also there's something to be said about like the realm of earthly delights, right?
Yes,
Like
yes, of course.
you
Yes, he does
enjoy it.
enjoy. He does
I
enjoy.
like hear like fucking awesome where they're like, oh, I gotta be like ripped and shit. I'm like, okay. I think I'm just gonna have this lobster or these oysters. That's what I'm gonna do,
I love
and
it. I love it.
I think that was what was the most, that was really, really fun. Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially Chinese people, man, we eat.
Yes, I mean it's the first thing you walk into a house like, have you eaten yet? It's like the first phrase, right? I mean, I don't know in your home if it was the same as my home, but that's like the thing. It's like, have you eaten yet? You know, and and it's such an essential thing. I always talk about, because one of the big things I do on my podcast and when I've spoken to people and why I started this is like a lot of advocacy and building empathy through stories and cultures. And I was like, if the world could just have a freaking potluck and we could all just eat our foods and share together, I think everybody would get along, because everyone loves food and everyone loves each other's food. And it's just, I
no, that's not true. Not everybody loves food. Not everybody. I'm not going to say.
I don't know. I feel like a lot of people love the majority of people love food, you know, and I feel it does bring people together, you know, in art, music and things like that. But I think food's the big one.
I think food, good drink. You know, it's good for the soul, man. It was like, that was, I'll show you, like, I make a map of all the places I've been and I make it on the Google Maps, and it's like covered in like places that I've been to, because I want to see, I want to try it. I want to explore it. I want to eat it all. And it's especially, it's fascinating because I was like, well, let me get this straight. If I'm in Cape Town shooting this thing and I don't take a chance to, like, it's completely new. There's like smells and sights and foods and languages I never heard in my life. I was like, why the fuck would I not use it for this role?
Exactly.
Literally, as a guy who's coming across the ocean to a new place.
A lot of parallels there. So this map that you have that's so well covered, is there somewhere you haven't explored yet that you're excited to? That's on your wish list?
You mean my like a country or just anywhere?
Like a city or a country or somewhere that you're like, you know, hasn't taken me there yet.
Oh yeah, I you know, this I was supposed to go to Namibia when I was down there, because I heard it was like stunning, beautiful, stunning. And if you've ever seen the photos of, like, it's like red sand dunes with like dry trees and like white sand or whatever.
Oh yeah.
That I wanted to try it because it was right next door to Africa. But then I got my passport stolen. I got everything stolen. Yeah, long story.
Oh no.
Yeah. So
that is like my biggest fear, is my passport being stolen when I'm traveling out of the country. Like, it is.
Yeah. You know, it wasn't that bad, but
you were living there too, though. So you had like some time. It's not like I got to get home next week. Like you were. Yeah. So it's like you had some time to. Okay.
Yeah.
That's still scary.
I was like, you know, that's. You would think it would be scary until it actually happens. I guess that's. Like,
maybe it's just your personality. I think I'd be losing my mind.
Deal with it, you know. I was annoyed. Yeah, I was like, well, I thought I would have to stay there and actually like forever.
Which, when you talk about Cape Town, it doesn't seem like such a bad thing. Like, there's worse places to be stranded, I guess.
You could always
just
call
be like, knock, knock, Langley. Sorry, moving in until this gets resolved.
And Langley has a beautiful home, by the way.
I've heard, and I heard he hosted everybody, and he just feels like the resident host because he lives there. And I was,
yeah. And I was like Langley is also the mayor of Cape Town. You see?
Oh, okay. Yeah. Now he's modest. He's never told me that.
No, you need to wait till you see his place. I can't wait till you go there.
I know, me too. I just, if all the stars align, I'm booked already and everything, but you know, life happens. So yeah. So if all the stars align,
so you're going to go in the summer, or?
I'm going at the end of August.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because it's backwards, you know. It's from us.
Yes.
From us.
Yeah, so it'll be a little cooler. Yeah. It'll be in the end of August. So yeah, I'm super excited.
That place will take your breath away.
Oh, I'm excited for it. Yes, and the safari and all of it. So, but speaking of like you and your love for food and who you are. And one of the things that also fascinated me was, and continues to, is how you seemingly adapt so well to different places, no matter where you are at. And that's maybe your nomadic nature. But like as a child, I think we talked last time, you were what, 5 when you went from China to the United States, and of all places like Memphis, where there wasn't, a huge Asian American population. And I mean, at that age, I think maybe there's not a recognition of like, oh, no one here looks like me, but you literally came from China where everyone looks like you. And so like, or looks Asian, right? Like you have such familiarity. Like, was it a culture shock for you? What was that like growing up in that environment? And tell me about your Memphis experience.
It's funny because, this does come up. People are always like, oh man, you're from the deep South. Like, what was that like? Was that a culture shock? I'm like, no, only adults talk about like culture shock.
Right.
Let's be real. Like, you put a kid somewhere and, ask them too many questions. They just sort of, children have a wonderful ability to just accept. Mm-hmm. Right? You just accept it as what it is, and that's it. And there's no rhyme or reason behind it. I just knew, I remember it feeling strange, obviously, because you feel like, I do remember like not knowing any language. And I was old enough to remember that experience. So I still remember it being like, that Charlie Brown kind of like that. And for me, that was probably the most challenging if I think about it. But as far as like, you're not even thinking like cultural shock. It was just like, this is somewhere new.
Yeah.
And does that make sense?
Yeah. I think kids are a lot more resilient than we give them credit for. And like you said, you put a bunch of kids on a basketball court, they're just going to start playing basketball. You put a bunch of kids in an environment, they're just going to gravitate. And I think, a lot of those complications we have is in our heads as we get older, and then the outside, noise that comes in. But I was also really excited to see that you had a St. Jude Children's Hospital connection, because it's like my Wallam Kung Fu School, like that had, for like 30 years, that was our charity of choice. And we've been like, donating to them and a part of that. And I was fascinated to see that was the, kind of one of the main reasons where your parents went to go and work there. So I was just really excited to see that there was like a little connection there. And, kind of a passion.
Great. They're amazing. Great. Yeah. They were the reason, we came here, and, my parents, they both worked for St. Jude's Children's Research Hospital. And it's like, as I grew up, I realized like, St. Jude is like the Empire from Star Wars, if the Empire was like really good.
I was like, wow, where are we going here? This is getting okay.
They're like a machine, man. They because I don't know if nobody really knows if they don't know about the charity. Basically, it's one of the premier research institutions for childhood diseases, especially cancer, right?
Yes.
And so they also have a hospital wing, which if you get selected to be treated there, they'll bring their whole family over there. It's 100% free. 100%. The amount of money that it takes to run this fucking place requires like their fundraising wing to be just a machine.
Yes.
But they're all doing it like it's like the best charity in the world.
I mean, it's such great work. But you're right. It's like, how do they even continue to keep the doors open to do what they do?
Yeah. It's like what the fuck? They're like the Empire. But if it was good,
I'm pretty sure we can find a better analogy, but I know what you mean. I was like, wow, we're going dark here. What are you going to tell me about St. Jude Children's Research that I didn't know? And I'm like, oh, okay, I see where you're going with it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just been, just one of those things that, like you said, it's so if you're in that scope where you have awareness, it's so notable and everyone knows. But if you have no idea and never heard about it, it's kind of interesting because it's like, or you don't. Like if you know,
Yeah.
right? But yeah, I think it's just incredible. And I know it is a big part of that city as well. Like whenever you have kind of a force like that, it becomes such a big part of that. A force. Yeah. Oh man, you planted that in my head.
Yeah. Okay, they're not and they're like Jedi. Okay, fine, whatever.
They're the Jedis. Yeah, definitely. They're 100% the
Jedi. They ain't got nothing. They ain't got shit on the Empire.
Yes.
I am a supporter. So if I was in Star Wars, you know where my loyalties lie.
Well, I mean, so speaking of Star Wars and action and things like that, I also, one of the first conversations I think I had with people from Warrior was with Brett Chan. Because he and I had a mutual friend, and we started this conversation because I'm a martial artist. Obviously, I was just absolutely huge respect for the work that he does, and love the stunt team. And then he started to talk to me about the training camps and the warm-ups in the morning and all this stuff. And I love asking all the cast how much they love those warm-ups and those training camps and what that experience was like for you. And is it like, did you have a lot of experience beforehand, and how sore did you get? Like, talk to me about that experience, because I'm always fascinated.
That training camp is like such a luxury, right? Like that's I know they say that, okay, you get a role to train the actors or whatever, right? But that is a luxury. I mean, like, I'm gonna be real. That's a luxury where you get to just have like top notch, and I'm talking top notch training to go through it. And that was for me, was just so much fun, because I feel like everybody just wanted to do just a wonderful job, the best job they could, right? And especially knowing the nature of the show, like you kind of can't get away with it. Can't get away with it, and I can't sit here in front of you. I can't sit here and talk out my ass saying like, hey, I'm a martial artist. Like some of these guys, I can't sit here next to being a show with these motherfuckers. Like, I can't say. They're
the real deal. The Sun team's no joke.
Right? And respect. So let's just say they did their very, very best, like every single day, to make sure that we were really truly trained. Yeah. And I had some martial arts experience before, but I had almost no fight choreography experience, no experience. So that was just like a learning curve in itself. And most of the day, besides the warm-ups, which is physically demanding.
Yes.
But that wasn't what was, because I was in pretty good shape before from previous jobs, and just staying in shape. But what was the hardest part for me was definitely, I think, the mobility training. Okay. Because when you have to try to get as mobile, as flexible as possible, also to prevent injury, as as a martial artist, it's painful. I mean, they can be. And especially if you have to hyper accelerate that.
Right. Yeah. Because it's like you're going to shoot and it can be dangerous for you. So 100%. Oh my gosh. Yeah. So I bet it was painful.
Oh yeah. So I have to send you a video of them actually you're getting pulled on it, and then they're loading the stretch, and somebody's gunning you, you
had a lot of wushu trainers, and they are no joke. In the way that they have been trained, and so they're like, I don't understand why you can't just do this, and they're pushing on you.
Yeah, I mean, I had my hips broken open when I was like that.
Right.
I was like, it's easy when you have they'll just tear your your.
Oh my gosh! And let me just say, it is not good. This is not what should be happening to us. Yes, but that is what they've been through. So it is their experience. Because I have trained in Beijing, so I know, I've seen it.
Yes, that is what they've been through. But I was in my effort to sort of hyper accelerate this,
Yes,
right? And try to get us, the maximum results as possible. Man, like we have science now, man. We got like science now of mobility. And I've gotten like, and I was fortunately able to. We were also working hard. We had wonderful trainers, but one of the biggest things that I learned was just the recovery process and how. Look, we're there on a job, right? But you also try not to get hurt on these, on these fight scenes and in training, because you're there to. So if you go down, that's a bad thing, right? So I think that whole process was just like, was especially that first season when I didn't know anything about like load management, about, about training for the fight scenes.
Yeah.
That was just like sink or swim, man. Let's go. And then I'm just just really, really working at it day after day. I would like game honestly, legitimately like 6 or 7 hours, maybe 8 hours a day, including like recovery and all that.
I believe it.
Thank God.
Well, the work paid off because you guys look great. I mean, and it's hard too, because then you've got levels of the actors that have martial arts. You've got like Joe, and then you've got people who are like, oh, I don't really do this at all. And there's a little pressure. Is there a little like peer pressure to feel like I don't want to be the weak link? I don't want to be the one that,
there's
like you said, like
self-made peer pressure.
That's what I mean. Self-made peer pressure. Yeah, like you put it on yourself.
Now you can't, man. Like especially. As you know, I assume that you did wushu, right? And the soft weapons are very challenging. Man, when they told me, they were like, "Hey, this is your weapon."
I know. I was going to ask, did you choose that, or did they put that on you? Because that's a really hard one.
They put that on me. Let me take that
Brett?
I don't know.
I'm going to talk to him. I'm going to talk to Brett and Jason and be like, "Hey, who did this to Chen?"
Brett. I think he was definitely instrumental, like crafting it. But like when I got the role, Hong was not formed yet. Okay, like it was not formed yet. I think they had kind of an idea, but they were like, "What kind of weapon are we gonna get?" And of course, it would be the most challenging.
It is. Yeah, I have to say.
So
they already gave Jason the daggers, so I guess you're getting the flexible weapon. You're getting the short version of the whip chain.
But I'm so glad they did, because and by the way, first I'm like, I always say this in all my interviews, like this show is not non-existent without Brett and his team. Non-existent.
Oh.
Like he is literally because he was so. It was so interesting what he was saying. I still remember him having this conversation. He was like, if you took a silhouette of all the characters in the show, you must be able to know who they are without knowing who they are by the way they moved.
Yeah.
And, and I kind of took that and ran with it of like, hey, this is how you move, and the weapon of choice that you choose says a lot about who you are as a person. How you see the world, how you move through the world. So it was all just a hyper creative process of like finding this person. I was like, who does this? Who chooses this weapon? Who? Why? Right? And it's not even like the 9-section whip. It's like a 5-section whip.
Yeah, that's what it is. It's the shorter version of the whip.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like literally a custom made weapon. And it gave me so much as home. It gave me like, it unlocked so much of the way I played it. That just because of that weapon. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, for sure you're as a character, but as a martial arts character, right? Your weapon is an extension of your body. Right. So what you are wielding is essentially you. Right. So it's really just an extension of you. And so, of course, now it's hard to say because you're so at one with it. But if you were to have had your choice, was there one before you knew about your character that you would have been like, I want that weapon? Or were you just like, whatever you guys assign me is fine? Because I feel like now after you've talked about it, you would choose it again because it's become part of the character and it's unique. But kind of before that, did you have a preferred weapon you might have chosen?
No, like I thought I was gonna get an axe. Okay, he's a
Okay.
hatchet man, a hatchet man, a hatchet man. Like I thought I would have asked for two hatchets though.
There you
I mean,
go.
like
Yeah,
double
like a
hatchet,
double up.
right?
Yeah.
But now that I'm like thinking, I was like, I never expected a chain. Like never expected a flexible weapon,
Mm-hmm.
and it is. Yeah, it's definitely unique. It's definitely unique.
Did you hurt yourself at any point training with it?
Luckily, no. Luckily, no.
Okay.
Because I did one of the things that I found fascinating is that so when I was preparing for the role, I trained in a little bit in the 九节鞭, the 9-section whip.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Then I realized, I mean, that's really wonderful for just understanding the nature
Yeah.
of the soft weapon. But I was like, it's actually too long. It's not actually, it doesn't cross over because as soon as you shorten it, everything changes, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I had actually found a guy here in LA who was specialized in it's a Japanese weapon called a Manriki Kusari.
Okay.
It's literally it's the same length as the chain, but it's just it has
Oh.
two weights at the end,
Okay.
and
Okay.
it's completely made of it's like chain link.
Mm.
So it's I believe it was like a ninjutsu weapon,
Okay.
and that changed everything because like when it's that short and it's a hidden weapon, it was so cool. That's actually way scarier than the 9-section whip
Mm-hmm.
because
Mm-hmm.
they're heavy weights.
Yes. Yes. And there's less time. There's less time for it to do its rotation.
Yeah, in rotation, and then actually when it actually hits, and because I was like actually had bought like a training set, that thing like yeah, it definitely can like I think I hit like a countertop and like cracked it. Yeah.
Yes. No, thankfully not your shin.
Yeah, no, yeah, because like that thing, I mean, it's so fast and it's so. It was fascinating how they use it, and to me, I was like, oh wow, that was what had become because when they told me I had like a soft weapon, I was like, oh, like a chain, okay. In fact, they didn't even tell me how long it was going to be because they were playing with it. I was like, well, you gotta have to know, right?
Brett's like, we'll figure it out when you get here. Don't worry. We'll let you know.
Yeah, and as soon as like I shortened it, I remember because I had in my head I was like, oh, this guy's got like a rope dart or something, right?
Yes, yes.
That'd be kind of cool. But as soon as we started playing with like a shorter one, it started feeling like a street weapon.
Yeah, right.
That vibe, that energy.
Yeah, because you needed to be concealed, quick.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. So I think that was all. It was just I still remember the early days of just like the discovery process, and so much of it was just by training.
Well, kudos to you because it looks super natural and you pull it off amazingly. Clearly, it was a lot of hard work. I know that.
Oh, I'm glad
there's no way around that. There's no way around it because it's like, you're either going to hit yourself with it or hit someone else. So hopefully hit someone else. No, I mean, I know also Brett and his team are so thorough in what they do that they would not let you go in looking on, like not the word authentic because of course it's street fighting, right? So it's not supposed to look perfect. It's not supposed to look like, like you're being judged at a tournament or something. It's supposed to look grittier and everything, but their approach to the way they do fight sequences and the approach to action, I think is just so phenomenal. Like I adore this team. Like I think they're just like one of the best in the business and just hearing about their camps and the care they take in their acting team and how involved they get everyone. It's really unlike any other set. So I mean, and I've had a small bit of experience on sets, but I have never experienced anything like that. I'm always like, I'm showing up to your training camp. I don't think I'll make it through, even though I'm a martial artist. It sounds like it's hell. I'm too old for this.
Nah, you'll make it through. You'll make it through. We were all like,
I think I would be too. I think because they're so intense.
Yeah.
Oh my God,
it was
so
fun.
intense. Yeah, At the junket, we also had a small moment for me to talk about yet another one of my passions that I like to talk about the show because I'm such a huge activist and advocate is the LGBTQ representation. And the thing I feel that Warrior and what your showrunners have done so well is not shoving anything in anyone's face, but just characters are just matter-of-factly, naturally like who they are. They're not a stereotype of what you often get in these types of representation. It's just you're basically a human, and as a human, you get to portray this role, but especially in this season 3, we really get to explore kind of that world and that time period and those challenges. How, you had mentioned that it was a privilege and that it was, just great to be able to play something so naturally, but like how, I know you said it wasn't necessarily a challenge, but how was that for you kind of taking into effect that because of the role you were playing, a lot of eyes were going to be like really opened and also people would feel so represented seeing, LGBTQ representation in this way. Like he's this badass fighter, you don't really get that a lot all the time with a character.
Yeah, I loved it. I loved that part about it because I was like, sexuality is such a huge part of our identity, right?
Yeah.
But it's also kind of just who you are, like you said, right? Mm-hmm. And so it was such an interesting thing for me with Hong. This guy, okay, so yes, he's gay. And it just so happens to be that he's also has this all other life. It has nothing to do with, but also simultaneously everything to do with the way he moves through the world.
Yeah.
And I say that because of, you have to take it into context of the time period of where you come from, person's background, But it actually has also kind of, it's really, really beautiful to see because I do know many people in the LGBTQ community who are like outside of this, what we would stereotypically call like masculine/feminine roles.
Yes.
Right? All of that is just made by the mind. They're like, well, no, I mean, I do this stereotypically masculine job. Like I'm a Marine, but I just like who I like. So that had nothing to do with it, but also everything, it also is still a reflection of their identity too.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I found that to be really fascinating when I was working on the role of, hey, this isn't such an opportunity to show this person as who they are. Mm-hmm. And that was also supported by the team because I have to credit Jonathan Tropper and the showrunners. They were like, first thing they told me, they were like, okay, so, we wrote he's a gay hatchet man, but we're not going to put a microscope on it. He just happened to be gay because, there were gay people in that time too.
Obviously. Yeah. But that's why it's just so like effortlessly. And again, like not thrown in your face. And I think it was so beautiful in that first conversation where I think it was you and, Jason's character. And it's just like, well, why aren't you attracted to me? And you're like, oh, you'd be, would you date your sister? And it was just such a natural conversation. And it was so humanizing. And it was just so well done. Yes. And I was just so refreshed by it. And of course, I love the freaking action on the show. I mean, Brett and teams, they're fucking amazing. But things like that, I feel is what puts Warrior in its own class and category, like conversations like that were just very matter of factly. And it's not, like you said, under a microscope. So I really appreciated it.
I still remember that quote. Like, we're not going to put a microscope on it. And I was like, of course you're going to say, no, you like me? I was like, no. I'm like, why would I? Like, that's like asking like the most simple question ever. It's not going to make a big deal out of things. Yeah. And I believe, it's weird to, because, nowadays in society, it's like we do make it's like when you make a big deal out of things, then you still got some hangups about it, I guess. You know, and to me, I was like for someone like Hong, I found it refreshing to just be to be able to play it as it's like you're asking him, hey, are you from China? Of course. I don't know. There's no like there's no question about it. And there's that comfort with it. So it was lovely to be able to do. I really, you know, did not take it lightly.
Yeah, it's for sure. You know, I've had a lot of conversations on and offline with people about that, and not just this show, so many other shows, and like it really matters. Like the work you all do and the representation that you provide, it's very important. So I know it is appreciated, and like I said, wildly entertaining at the same time. Like it's so amazing to be able to have all those dynamics. And as we're recording, we are amidst the 2 weeks of binge watch, where we really want to encourage everybody to give us that season 4. And I didn't get to talk to Hoon about it, but of course everyone wants to know what's happening with him, and is he going to just lie there and die, or do we get what's next? There's so many pieces of the character, your character, like everybody, we need to know what happens next. So I will remind our listeners and our viewers to make sure they're binge watching, giving the 2 thumbs up, doing all the things, tagging on social media, and I'll do all of that. But lastly, I wanted to talk about our Mulan connection, because you and I have so many little connections. It was like, I'm dying to talk to you. So I love that you got to work on the new film and the live action. Of course, I'm the old person in the room, and so I was in the animated feature. But
we got Asian discount, you know.
But what was the experience like to go to China and film this epic adventure and play one of the characters that was actually carried over from the original? Because not all of them were, but how fun was that?
You know, it's actually kind of a misconception. Like, I never stepped foot in China for this film.
Okay, but there were parts that were filmed there. Yeah. Okay.
Only a small part because they shot the Imperial City and the set.
Okay.
There.
Okay.
I think they were only there for like 2 or 3 weeks or something. And then they did some drone photography through like the Gobi Desert.
Oh, okay.
Right. But the rest of it was filmed in New Zealand. So.
Oh, that's right. That's right. New Zealand.
Yeah. So.
Another amazing country.
Yeah. Like, I only work in the Southern Hemisphere.
Yeah, obviously.
I got the Southern Hemisphere covered.
Yes. So in New Zealand, sorry.
New Zealand. Yeah. And that was my first time actually. I'd been on some big sets before, but I was like, well, this Disney is you are in the world. I was like, we're supposed to be marching in an army. I was like, I think maybe they're just going to like CGI. No, they just made an army with horses and the drummers, and they just like kind of followed us. So it was like 200 strong. So I think that to me was, to this date, I will still say one of the great experiences of my life to be able to go and experience that. Yeah,
what an epic set that sounded like. And it's interesting because you just mentioned that. And just this morning, my husband was showing me a clip from Axios's newsletter where it's like, oh my gosh, I'm not going to remember the name of it, Sky or Solar, the new AI where you can just say, here's a scene in New Zealand of an army of 200 soldiers marching, and it fucking just does it. Like there's these little digital clips, and it's wild. And it's clearly going to change the landscape for filmmaking, for television, for art, for writers, for actors. It's going to change so much. And this is one of the big, why we all went on strike too, for SAG-AFTRA, to just kind of see how we can secure our futures. But what are your thoughts on things like that? Because it's the inevitable, right? There's no stopping this train. It's going. How do you see all of this technology that's coming out as somebody in the industry and with all these changes that are going to be happening? And I don't know, maybe it's like before talking pictures and they're like, no, that's never going to be a thing. And then of course, everybody's going to watch talking pictures. There's hardly any silent films. Maybe it's just the next iteration of that. But this feels like, I told him this morning, I'm like, it's like fucking Total Recall. We're like in the future. Yeah. We are there. Yeah. And it's wild.
Yeah. And we're just scratching the future, right? Look, personally, how I feel is weirdly optimistic. I get it. Okay. Like it's going to change everything. But it's also, I'm a futurist. I'm truly like, I believe in the future. I believe in the beauty of technology and what it could do. And it is going to be far more pervasive and far more it will be far more affecting to society as a whole than I think anybody has any idea about, including the people who are making it. And so I like to think of it as like, to make an analogy, before we used to all ride around on horses here, you know? Mm-hmm. When they came out with the horseless carriage, it replaced that to a large extent. But we still have people who enjoy riding horses. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And so, you know, if you're taking the human element out of something, you're taking that and automating it and giving it, and eventually, this is still on a very, very, very beginnings of this. And this is something that I believe will grow at a geometric rate, right? And it's going to really, I have some thoughts on like how, without rambling too much, I do have some thoughts on like, you know, what would happen, because, you know, we're on the process of creating new life. You know, what truly artificial intelligence is sentient. Yeah. It's self-learning machine. And to me, I can't help but be fascinated, in awe of it more than scared. You know, I don't think I'm so much scared of the unknown as I'm fascinated in what it could be, right? It could be something, an intelligence that is completely different than what we would create as human, when we think of it as human. And, you know, I don't know enough about it to have like a further conversation, but I am excited with what it could do to our industry. You know, I'm aware that it's going to like affect a lot of people's livelihoods, our jobs and everything, but also, you know, the internet did too. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I'm old enough to remember when we didn't have internet.
Me too.
Dial-up with it, like the internet was, people were like, oh yeah, you can send an instant message, like you can send an email instead of writing a letter. Yeah. Right. And I'm like, that's as far as you thought of the internet. Look at it now. Mm-hmm. Right. Mm-hmm. We're having this conversation on the internet. Yeah. Yeah. I can call my grandmother right now and be with her immediately. Right. Mm-hmm. Like what are these things that were unimaginable only 20 years ago? Mm-hmm. Imagine like 10 years from now. Yeah. And it could be what it could do. So it's going to be far beyond our industry. So in a long-winded answer, I think how I feel about it, I'm fascinated by what's to come.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I don't know very much about it. I have like a minuscule, like I said, it was literally just in our inbox today, and we don't really take in the news now because it's just too depressing. And so we get like sometimes a little snippet of like, here's 5 things that are whatever. And you read it, it's so much different than hearing it, right? You lose a little bit of the craziness. But I was fascinated by it because, of course, you know, the last couple of years of ChatGPT, everybody's talking about this and this and this. But when I saw this video and it was just like literally 3 sentences and they're like, and this is what has been produced from it, I was floored. I mean, on the flip side of the scary, quote unquote, is like, wow, so many more people can be creative now that maybe didn't have the means to make a small film or to be able to express, right? And on the flip side, it's like, oh my gosh, this is going to affect so many people. So my brain goes all over with it as well. And I am for sure, by no means any bit of an expert or know anything about it. I was just fascinated by it. And since you kind of brought that up, that you're like, oh, it's such a normal thing to throw out CG. And I have a lot of friends in the stunt, stunt industry, stunt performers. And as a former stunt performer, it's like we've always been saying, okay, when are we going to be, extinct? When is that not a thing? And I can see that becoming the harder part for AI to kind of do right now. But I mean, all the things one day for sure. But you're right. There are the people that will always gravitate towards the models. Like people were like, oh no, I like that this was filmed on a set that was built and it was real and we could touch it versus like that beautiful CG background. I mean, I think it's a user experience thing and it's very personal, but at the end of the day, it's, hopefully can just be used as a tool for good for the Jedis and not the Empire to bring us all back full circle.
Yeah. It's interesting because I think one of the great experiences about what art is what makes it really fun, and I believe what elevates it to being really great is when it's the unexpected, the unknown. It's like, I didn't even know I was going to do that, or I didn't know I was going to make something like that. Excuse me. Yeah, I didn't know I was going to make something like that. And that to me I'm excited to see what AI could do in that regards. I'm not sure if it's there yet, where it's like, there's a sense of beautiful chaos that comes with not knowing. And that's where all the wonderful spontaneity comes about. I don't think we're stupid, we can, there's almost something, that's why you can't take your eyes off it, and to make it even full circle. That's why when I was in Africa on safari, you're actually seeing these animals. They are wild and they're looking at you. And I remember thinking why I felt so present is because, number one, you're not the top of the food chain. Number two is you don't know what they're going to do. Yes, it's relatively, safe in a way, but it's not. It couldn't, you don't know. You don't, that sense of not knowing what's going to happen is the reason we like snap. We're like, oh, okay, we got to pay attention now. Mm. And so I think who knows what AI will do, but there's a sense of, I feel like there's still a sense of people wanting to quote unquote control things that is a detriment to art, to creativity. Well, I'm interested to see if it could be something that could be, has that sense of like unexpected spontaneity. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And that is what will eventually elevate it to like art.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
Yeah. I love your optimism. I'm pragmatic. I don't want to call myself a negative person, but I'm very pragmatic. So I'm always cautious. I'm very cautious. So, but I think that it's interesting because it sparks really, fascinating conversations and questions to be asked. I mean, and this is how we learn, right? This is how we grow. Yeah. So I don't want to take up all of your time today. So hopefully, we'll go on a third date together and you'll come back on the show again at some point, or maybe I'll catch you in person in 3D form. And then we can continue the conversation. Yeah, thank you so much for giving me so much time today and for allowing us to get to know you a lot better and to kind of let our audience kind of hear more from you. And I will tag all the Netflix things and the asks from our audience. But is there anything else you'd like to share with us, or anything you can share that you're working on? I know a lot of these things are always secret.
Not currently. Yeah.
Secrets. All right. So
I'm really grateful to have met you, and meeting people like you just reminds us that this show is part of that. That's like, there's a special spark, and it's because of fans. Like, the fans are amazing. Like, for some reason, I don't know why, they just really, really support this show. Really,
because it's awesome.
Yeah, it is awesome. But this is like, yeah, I guess it's like, it's like a family thing. It's like a family. It's like family. And I appreciate you for giving me so much time.
Okay. Thank you so much. Until next time.
Till next time.
That's all for today's episode. Thanks for listening to The Sifu Mimi Chan Show. Please subscribe and rate my podcast on your platform of choice and leave a review. You can become a patron of the show at patreon.com/SifuMimiChan to help keep this podcast going. Follow me and interact on social media at Sifu Mimi Chan on Instagram or Facebook.